That was
pretty stressful.
That was very stressful, Dan. I mean,
you try being an engineer in a live environment. 45 minutes later.
I was nearly at my wit's end with like you.
You're at your wit's end after 30 seconds. You've got no patience.
Watching you try and do this.
Patience.
I mean, yeah, honest to God, like,
you have no patience.
How do you deal with machines on a daily basis?
I have a bit of patience.
I have none.
I can see that.
Yeah, clearly.
I've had to stay in a room with you. We've got cameras, but they're not rolling. There's no witnesses.
I mean, yeah, we're talking about my patience.
You're such a diva.
Yeah. Maybe I am.
Bit of a drama queen.
Maybe.
Look, it's 200 tabs on a computer. Get over yourself. Like.
You're an IT guy. I'm not even going to ask questions about it. Let's just get into it, man.
You know that phrase? I've got 99 problems.
But IT isn't one. Is that your thing?
I had more than 99 problems, didn't I? 99 plus problems.
Yeah.
Put a plus in there. Anyway, we're here now. Everything is good. Everything works.
It's psycho behavior, man.
Kind of works. Would you stop saying that to me? Why does everyone keep saying that to me?
Psycho behavior, having over 200 tabs open, dude. It's not healthy. This is an intervention. We're here to help.
Name something I've done that's healthy. Exactly. So, let's crack on with, speaking of unhealthy habits, movie watching on complete binge can't be that good for you either. However, he does work, or at least he's got a friend that works out. Take one look at him and you get the muscles. Show the people what they want to see.
What?
There you go.
The wires that are my arms.
No photoshopping here, folks.
Yeah.
Because we daren't open another program on the computer.
That's pure.
Yeah.
That's pure, like, pure film critic muscle right there, and that doesn't come around very often,
My muscle simply comes from pointing at things, telling people to do stuff.
Pencils,
clicking buttons. See, the computer mouse doesn't actually generate a lot of muscle. Someone at least a tiny bit bigger than me, or even somebody over the age of 6, will throw me to the floor really quickly and easily.
Very true. But going back to what you said about, how I don't have much patience.
You don't have much patience.
I had to wait a whole year. I had to wait a whole year for this film to come out that we're talking about tonight, because Avengers.
Yeah, you were quite restless that year. I didn't like you that year.
Nah, yeah, I was very on edge, weren't I? Because of the way Avengers: Infinity War finished in 2018, and then it led into this film, Avengers: Endgame, which came out in 2019, which is in a way the second part of this story.
It's still before our lives all got corrupt.
Pretty much, it's very close to it. It's very close to it, which is really interesting because this is a film. Because we're talking about 2 movies, of course. 2. The first film that we're talking about is pre-COVID, and the second one, remember, we're talking about.
Is it post or during?
During, actually.
Oh.
So this will be interesting, and it's still made big bucks.
Big bucks.
Exactly. So
as every one of these this month, I have referenced Toy Story 2. Have you noticed that?
Oh, I'm not the only one. We're not the only ones who have noticed that, Dan.
Okay, good. I'm glad the people know what they like.
Yeah, the fans have noticed.
Toy Story 2. Everyone loves that film. I don't care how cool you are. You love that film.
You're right.
I just want to obviously point a little bit of attention to the fact that we're doing 2 reviews today because we missed last week because I could not diagnose a bit of hay fever now, could I?
Honestly.
You could have come in here and lived through that. I'd have looked like thunder. But I've gone on air in pyjamas before.
If I'd have known
not intentionally.
If I'd have known it weren't catching, Dan, I'd have been round. But I didn't know if you were contagious or not. And I don't, no offence, but I just don't want to get ill.
To be honest, I'm contagious most of the time anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Very unhealthy individual.
But I wish that my patience was transferable. Because you could use some of that.
And I wish my healthiness was transferable to you. But hey ho, here we are.
Although...
We play the cards we're dealt, don't we?
Although, I drink water.
I don't eat McDonald's more than twice a week.
That is so rude.
But it's true.
It is true, but it's rude. Well, they built one right outside my house. What did you expect?
I know. But
if only I could afford to go there.
We digress, Dan.
We do.
We are digressing.
The health channel, yeah.
Yeah. This is not the health channel. So let's kick into Avengers: Endgame, okay? The 2019 epic superhero film that was released. This film is the definitive main ending to the MCU. Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 act as a 3-part epilogue to close up any remaining stories, but I cannot deny the incredible pressure this film had to deliver on. There are dozens of characters worth talking about in this film, but I'll try and keep it to a minimum and focus on the mainest of main characters so that we aren't here all day. I wanted that before we got the computers fixed, didn't I?
Well.
But hey ho.
Yeah.
The core three Avengers are all dealt with brilliantly here. I mean, you've got Iron Man. Tony's story here is wrapped up brilliantly with a guy who has made countless mistakes in the past, but has a chance to put things right. He is a selfish character who finally learns to be selfless. Then you have Captain America. Steve finally gets that happy ending we all wanted for him. Having lost his faith in humanity in the previous film, it is nice to see him kind of return to that man of optimism. He is a selfless character who finally learns to do something for himself. So you see how him and Captain America and Iron Man kind of mirror each other with their arcs and what they go through.
Iron Man is quite reflective.
Technologically wise, definitely for you, yeah. We are quite a lot like them, to be fair, because you're
patient and you're not.
No, yeah. I mean, you're even wearing red, and I'm wearing blue jeans. So make that what you will. But
that's not the same colour.
That makes producer man Steve Thor, by the way. Which brings me on to talking about Thor.
What, someone that smashes all my blooming mugs?
Yeah, he's just tall and clumsy. Never mind.
Oh yeah.
Thor, controversial to some, but I love the way they handled Thor in this film. He is a guy with a lot of regret on his shoulders, and they tackle bouts of depression, alcoholism, and self-loathing through his progression in this film.
Why controversial?
Because they do it by making him obese, and a lot of people think that it was just a way to get cheap laughs because, hey, Thor's fat now, it's funny. But there's an underlying element to it. There's a reason for the way. And it's a very realistic way of how someone would deal with depression and alcoholism and just self-loathing. They would get overweight. They would, just hate themselves. And that's what happens with Thor in this movie. But, it's all for a purpose. It's not just for laughs so we can point at Thor and say, haha, Thor's fat now and it's funny. There are some jokes to be had, but there's an underlying element to it which I very much respect. All of the other Avengers have their parts to play here. Black Widow's story is tied up heroically, and I see zero reason why they bothered to release her own movie after this film came out. I love the whole Back to the Future Part 2 aspect of character. Honestly, man, you love a bit of Back to the Future, don't you?
I do.
And do you know what I mean by Back to the Future Part 2 in that the characters go back to the events of the first movie but see it from a different angle?
Yeah.
Well, that's
because we as the audience did that with Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
We saw the same bits and then we saw different angles of those bits.
And that's what this film does.
Very well done.
Because the Avengers have to all time travel back to the events of all of their previous films, and you see them looking from afar, from different angles of previous films. So it's quite fun to see those B-sides, as it were.
Was there a cameo of the DeLorean in there? That would have been brilliant.
They do reference Back to the Future in the film.
Okay.
Good. Because when they're talking about time traveling, one of them says, what we got to do is we can't bump into our previous selves, and we can't go betting on any sporting events or anything like that. And then Iron Man just stops him and goes, "Are you seriously suggesting that your plan to save the universe is based on Back to the Future?" Which it is, to an extent. But I do love the whole Back to the Future Part 2 aspect of characters time travelling back to the events of previous films.
It's a good idea.
And seeing them from different angles. It was handled very well, and it was a nice bit of fan service to all of us fans who had paid attention to the MCU for so long. Because it was great to see little lesser known characters pop up, hey, I remember that guy, or hey, I remember that guy, and as a fan it's quite fulfilling to watch. Sure, there are some elements in the film that don't work as well as Infinity War. The decision they made with Hulk didn't land for me. Seeing him dab was dorkily in character, I guess, but it still felt icky. They actually make Hulk dab in this movie, so that's a bit it gives me the ick.
Could have done with that bit being cut out.
Having Captain Marvel be included in the film with zero purpose or reason still bugs me today. And no, I'm not sexist, because Nebula, another female character, arguably has the best arc in the film beyond the core three. She's the real strong female character here. That's what I'm going to state on that character. Thanos in this film doesn't have nearly as much depth as he did in the previous film. Where Infinity War was a Thanos film that had the Avengers in it, Endgame is the opposite, where it is an Avengers film that happens to have Thanos in it. So, again, a flip side. But to close down on this first of the two reviews to do, the 3-hour runtime might be a drag for non-fans of the genre, as you well know, having sat with me to watch Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
But its climactic finality cannot be denied. The first act shows the characters' struggles, the second act deals with the plot elements, and the third act is simply a, you all stuck around with us for this long, so here you go, enjoy kind of moment extravaganza. So on that note, Dan, I'm going to give Avengers Endgame 4 stars out of 5. Not as much as Infinity War or the first Avengers film, because they're both 5-star movies. But this is the third best Avengers film of the 4 of them.
Okay,
You
still
know?
Enjoyable. Was it the dab that did it?
The dab didn't help. The dab
Yeah.
really didn't help, and it was just like, I think Fortnite shows up at one point, and I'm surprised one of the Avengers didn't end up flossing. To be honest, you know.
That would have definitely lost it a star.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That was last week's.
Yes.
Supposed to be last week's.
Supposed to be last
Sorry
week.
about that.
Which now leads us into talking about what this film came out in December 2021. Oh no, yeah. One thing I forgot to say was how much the Avengers made at the box office. Avengers Endgame. Buckle up. It made 2.799 billion at the box office. It actually dethroned Avatar as the most highest grossing film of all time for a bit.
What? Avatar? You have not seen Avatar?
Yes, yeah. It actually dethroned Avatar as the most successful film of all time.
See, I didn't really understand Avatar. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, it's
they
overrated.
did a Simpsons remake of it and I still didn't get it.
In my opinion, it's very overrated.
Fair. I agree.
But,
Okay.
yeah, progressing on
That's
to...
a lot of money, that. It's a lot of money.
See, this was in like the COVID era, wasn't it? Like I remember
I'd
going...
be happy with 1 billion.
Yeah, you're right. But I had to go see Spider-Man No Way Home, and I remember thoroughly having to wear my mask the whole time in the theatre when I went to see it.
You weren't moving.
It was that time. It was that time where everyone in a room together had to all wear masks.
But they had air conditioning in there.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what good it did.
It didn't. You weren't moving.
But, you know, this is from a perspective of me back in 2021 when I saw the film. So, Spider-Man
It's
No
a
Way
good
Home.
job you didn't wear glasses. Because masks and glasses, every time you breathed out.
You steam. Yeah, it steams up.
How was the movie? Well, they're blurry.
I do remember, I always used to hate having to wear it if I had, like, a bit of a beard going on because it would itch like a motherfucker.
It got all sweaty, didn't it?
Yeah, it would honestly itch like crazy.
COVID times.
Oh, yeah. But there is hope on the horizon.
Oh, thank God for that.
Spider-Man No Way Home. This came out in 2021. Marvel Studios have not impressed me much since 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home was the last of their films to do so. Black Widow was okay, but more of an afterthought. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was kind of fresh but forgetful, and The Eternals was just boring and non-original. This film was the Marvel Studios film that needed to win me back as a willing Marvel movie fan, and remind me why these stories, especially for Spider-Man, are worth telling throughout cinema. After 2 very enjoyable previous Spider-Man movies with Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, this film continues to bring us Spider-Man elements that we have not seen before, and what Peter Parker, played by Tom Holland, goes through in this film is both original and moving in its execution, really. As this is a spoiler-heavy review, as pre-warned on this app, I'm going to break down each character in this film, what they go through, and what I liked/disliked about their respective arcs. I could have done this with Avengers Endgame, but we'd be here till 2 a.m. if that was the case.
That works for me.
So, starting with, Spider-Man/Peter Parker. Tom Holland's portrayal of the young web-slinger has been a joy to watch since his debut in Captain America Civil War. He has gone through the hero life with its ups and downs throughout, but I think in this film his portrayal really is upped to the max, because I think the previous MCU films with Spider-Man have focused on the power aspect of his character. He's a kid with these incredible powers throughout high school, but in this film we learn through the tragedy he experiences. He faces the responsibility aspect more, and he finally matures by the end of the film to a superhero character who can stand on his own and not have to be supported by big MCU names as mentor types anymore. Because in the previous 2 films, Iron Man was in the first one, and then Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury was in the second one. In this one, Doctor Strange is in it, but it's predominantly, it's the most Spider-Man film out of the 3. And then, so I've just spoken about Spider-Man / Peter Parker. So what I'm going to do now is talk about Spider-Man / Peter Parker again, because there's 3 Spider-Man in this movie.
Hold up, break that down. What?
You're right. There's 3 different Spider-Men in this movie because they bring back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield to play their respective roles of Spider-Man that they've played in the last 2 decades.
I'm confused. How does this work exactly?
Let me explain. So after I've done this.
What you said makes no sense, by the way.
Yeah. I know.
This is the whole comfort zone is your comfort zone because
we'll
it's your
get to it. We'll get to it.
Okay.
Tobey Maguire makes an enjoyable return as his portrayal of the web-slinger that he portrayed in the Sony trilogy between 2002 and 2007. And he brings a great maturity and wisdom to the role that helps guide Holland Spider-Man through his grief and keep the kid focused on the mission of the hero. Plus, it was great to see him make amends with Doc Ock near the end, cure Sandman so he could return to his daughter, a human, and do what he could not do before, really, which was prevent the death of the Green Goblin. So that moves on to Spider-Man / Peter Parker for the 3rd time. Lastly, we have Andrew Garfield returning to his version of the character that he portrayed in the Sony duet films from 2012 to 2014. He was my most welcome return in the film, as Garfield is a tremendous actor and gets labelled as the worst Spider-Man, which is just wrong, as all 3 of the actors above have pros and cons to their performances, but ultimately they all do a brilliant job. Plus, to see him finally redeem himself after failing to save his girlfriend by saving the girlfriend to the other Spider-Man was just perfect. A great way to bookend a great portrayal of the character that was cut way too short back in his last appearance in 2014. The magnitude of villains that appear in this film was an intense risk, but ultimately, for the most part, a rewarding one, as it works as fan service, obviously, but they actually do something with 3 of the 5 villains that make their returns in this film. You have the Green Goblin. Willem Dafoe is the only person who can play this character. He brings his hammy. There's a meme that you'll know, which from Spider-Man, which is, I'm something of a scientist myself, and they reference it in this film as well, which is sweet.
Yes.
He brings his hammy, scary portrayal back from his 2002 debut in the role, and again, his appearance here reminds us why the Goblin is Spidey's arch nemesis. He again takes the life of someone precious to him and pushes Holland's Spider-Man to the most intense limits we have seen yet, which is why my voice just broke. Which is why I adore maybe it's hay fever. Which is why I adore his role in the film as the main villain. Plus, the costume gets a comic accurate improvement, which is pretty cool. Doc Ock.
What did you just call him?
His name's Dr. Octopus, but they call him Doc Ock, which is a cool, shortened, corny kind of name.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yes.
I heard something else, but carry on.
Alfred Molina returns after 17 years as the 8-limbed villain and once again delivers the role in spades. I do miss the practical puppetry effect of the arms from Spider-Man 2. They went CGI with Dr. Octopus arms this time. But in the 2004 film, Spider-Man 2, my favourite superhero film ever, they actually used puppetry instead. So it looked better because it was real. They were there, you know?
Yeah. You don't like it when they do CGI, really, do you?
Always do practical. It always looks better. Always. But, it was great to see Doc Ock have a different arc in this film as well. And lastly, the 3rd villain that was treated well, Jamie Foxx returns after his questionable performance in the worst Spider-Man movie to date, 2014's The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but again gets a much better visual makeover. swapping his Dr. Manhattan-esque blue design for a more human/comic accurate yellow electricity design. His appearance is improved, but so is his character, as he grows from a power-hungry villain at the start who finally makes amends with Garfield Spider-Man in the end. The other two villains that he used, the Lizard and Sandman, they're just there to be mainly henchmen and fill in gaps. They don't really have arcs like the other three do, which is unfortunate, but, there's only so much time in a film. Plus, Charlie Cox having a tiny return as Matt Murdock / Daredevil was a fantastic inclusion. I can't imagine anyone else playing that role, and I'm glad he's back and gets to appear in more MCU properties, considering his third Netflix season of Daredevil is arguably my favourite MCU thing in general. That includes all of the movies and TV shows that they've released over the years. Zendaya, Jacob Batalon, Marisa Tomei and Benedict Cumberbatch all work well in supporting roles for the main protagonist of the story. I even got a bit of a Harry Potter vibe from the main three kids, having watched them grow up and mature from Homecoming. Really?
Wow, yeah.
Because there's, again, in this movie, it's Spider-Man. He's got his girlfriend and he's got his best friend, and they're teenagers, and you've watched them grow up throughout the film. So there's a bit of a Harry Potter-esque kind of vibe to it,
You're a spider beater.
And I was actually watching
I'm a what?
I was actually watching a Harry Potter film last night. Funny enough,
Where?
A bit of irony. Yeah, it was Deathly Hallows Part 1.
That's the worst one.
What? No, it's not the worst one. It's not one of my favourites, but it's not the worst one. I still prefer that film to Order of the Phoenix, and especially Half-Blood Prince. Half-Blood Prince.
You went simple there. Like,
yeah.
How about
my brain just decided to stop working as soon as I mentioned the name of that film for some reason. Yeah.
Goblet of Fire has the best line.
How did I put your name in a goblet of fire? He asked calmly. As I'm told on a daily basis, apparently it was calm.
Oh, very calm.
But all of that aside, the fan service is just welcome. So basically, what happens is, like, short story, Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, everyone finds out who he is. Everyone finds out his secret identity. So he goes to Doctor Strange and asks him to perform a spell to make everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yep.
It goes wrong. So therefore what happens is alternative Spider-Men from different universes start seeping into our world. So therefore Spider-Man ends up meeting two other of his counterparts from different parallel universes.
Okay, I was going to ask you to break that down.
Yeah,
Thanks for doing that. So basically...
But also on top of that, you have 5 villains who come in from these other universes as well.
From us as an audience member, we've seen the other Spider-Men, assumably in their other universes.
We grew up watching them.
The magic hasn't been killed by doing this.
No.
Which is the main thing.
It doesn't ruin the continuity at all.
Because it kind of got ruined, obviously, when they replaced Dumbledore in the Harry Potter films, funny enough.
Yeah.
So I don't like it when they do that.
But this is a good way to address like how there are different Spider-Men out there, why they look different, why they're played by different people, why they're different ages. And, funny enough, it was fun watching the 3 of them, get on
screen together. Yeah.
But it weren't just because, oh my God, it's 3 Spider-Men and I'm watching it, it's great. But it was also...
definitely was for you, at least an element of that.
No, of course, yeah. I'm not going to sit here and lie. But I do think it was also the fact that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man even says in the film, he says, man, this is great. I always wanted brothers. And because there's 3 of them, and I've got 2 older brothers, I get that dynamic that they get. It's almost relatable, and maybe that's why I like Spider-Man No Way Home so much, because it has that brotherly dynamic which I can relate to.
I've just got visions of your poor mum walking home at the end of the day, and there's just you 3 in the house as Spider-Man, just doing weird crap around the house. Your mum's the type of person who just come in and be like, what do you want for dinner? Like, just for God's sake, I'm just gonna deal with this. Like,
oh yeah. If only everyone.
But your dad's exactly the same. He's just coming in like
what you've just said. What you've just said, probably to the audience, is not that surprising.
It's happened. Yeah.
It's very, very unlikely that there's many people out there who wouldn't believe that. But
I believe it.
Yeah, exactly. But ultimately, this is a film about growing up and facing responsibility that comes with it. I think Peter Parker has quite a young teenage he's been quite a young teenage character in the past two Homecoming movies with not much personally at stake, and this one is the first that actually has real ramifications for the character. He actually loses someone close to him. He's no longer living in Iron Man's shadow, and he decides to do the right thing for his friends and not himself come the end of the movie, which is why this film is my favourite in the Homecoming trilogy. Well, the Home trilogy, rather, with Homecoming very close behind and Far From Home just behind that. So to close, Dan, this film is a cinematic love letter to the character of Spider-Man. John Watts did a fantastic job with all three films in the trilogy. Spider-Man is my favourite Marvel superhero, and I hope they continue to make films with Tom Holland in the role, as I consider this an origin trilogy as a whole, and now we have a character who is fully formed, fully fleshed out, and got his own homemade suit with zero Stark tech ready to tackle the world and its troubles. We now have the fully formed Spider-Man on the big screen that we all know and love. And they have announced that they are actually doing a fourth Spider-Man movie with him. It's currently in the works.
Does it make you nervous, though? Like, they might make a bad film. Are you ever nervous about that?
Again, yeah, I mean, there's always that rule of 4, isn't it? You know, like you have 1, 2, 3, and then they do the fourth, and the fourth is not as good. Toy Story, but we won't go into that. But to close, Dan.
You're going to watch Toy Story 5, though, aren't you?
Probably not.
Yeah, you are.
I'm going to say what this film made. It made $1.953 billion. And this is during COVID time.
When the cinemas were shut.
Yeah, so people were flocking. Like, this was the film that got people back in the cinemas during COVID. It really, really was. To make that
Didn't
much
get
money,
me back in there, did it?
No.
I only got back in there because of you and Steve. Kicking and screaming I was. Against my will.
For the Muppets.
I mean, it was nice of you guys to think of me like that, but did you have to tie me up and put me in the boot?
Yeah, well, you know, and yet you were still late. Never mind.
No, I was on time. Bums on seats, film started. I don't wait around for no ads.
Nah.
I ain't got time for that. I just need to get in, watch the film, and get out again.
Shame on you. Anyway.
Well, I did.
Spider-Man No Way Home, Dan. I'm giving this one 4.5 stars out of 5.
What lost it that half? Because I was expecting a 5 out of that.
I think using those two villains that were underused, it would have been easier to not have them at all. There were 5 villains in total that they brought back in this film. They only needed 3 because 3 of them were treated very well and they all got respective arcs throughout. But there was just no need to have Lizard and Sandman in it. They were just filler, and it's unnecessary.
Yeah. I think as well, if you'd have had one Spider-Man, they'd have had their villain to focus on.
Yeah. And again, if you had 3 Spider-Men and 3 villains, perfect. Am I right?
Yeah.
It works just fine.
Just like the Powerpuff Girls.
I'm trying to do the theme tune. Can't do it.
You're doing a very bad job.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice.
Yeah, I know. All that jazz. So, Massive March.
But now we're into Massive March. This is the one where I need to pick out all of the gems, don't I?
You do. Now, this is interesting because for the first time in ever, we've not gone with animations for April this year.
We've changed it up a bit, haven't we?
Oh, yes. And of course, the amazing April. 5-star movies. I'm looking forward to what you're pulling out of the hat here. There is a film that I want in this category, but you've already told me it's not going to be there. So I'm looking to see what it is that's going to be in there. Disney Pixar people, you will be very disappointed to hear that your favourite movie, Cars, is not going to be in this particular month for Tommy.
No way.
But you got what I sent you earlier, didn't you?
Oh, I did.
Yeah, you did. Good. But basically, that is what... you'll have to Google it. That is exactly where we are going. I'm just going to run through the rest of the year. We've got Muscle May for all the people who have arms like you and not like me. Just down June is when I ruin your life for a month.
Yep.
You get your own back in July.
Yes.
With just Tommy July. Animated August, that's where it is. That's where I'm looking forward to that one. And maybe the film that I want is going to come up in that month if I don't do it in June.
Yep.
And of course, Series September. I'm tempted to scrap that and just go back to Sequel September because Sequel September was good.
Honestly, man, I'm tempted to push for that as well.
We might do that. We'll put a petition.
Because I can't write reviews for series.
You can't write reviews for toffee. Also, Oh So Scary October, Negative November. Sorry, Tommy. And a personal favourite. This one's going to be good. I'd love to see how you handle Disney Christmas December. How are you going to handle that? You're going to love it.
Frozen 1 and 2.
Not Christmas movies. Frozen 2 was awful. In fact, what am I saying? Frozen 1 was awful. What am I saying?
It's overrated, isn't it, bit?
It was overrated.
Yeah.
The snowman stuff was pretty funny.
Yeah, but...
The puddle stuff was pretty good. But
Yeah.
apart from that, it was naff.
Never mind.
But it wasn't the worst film I've ever seen, but Tangled was better.
Tangled was so much better. Tangled is great.
It's when I get caught watching it on my own that I'm just like... Twice it's happened to me. I'm watching Tangled, and I've had someone walk in the room. I won't tell you who. They've walked in the room. They're like, "What are you doing?"
Watching Tangled as a fully grown man.
It's a good film.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's a good film.
You do you, man. You do you.
Anyway. For all the grown men out there that want to watch Tangled, you're on our vibe, and therefore you need to get following us. You can do that on the buttons below. You know how to do that.
Larkins95, Dan Moore Radio. You guys know how to follow us.
You know how to follow us. That's Letterboxd.
That is for Letterboxd.
Further down here on YouTube, there are some YouTube buttons. I think they're subscribe. You've now got a notification bell as well. Some YouTubers have a button that you can get paid for. We ain't got that. But if it happens to appear after me saying that, then please click on it.
Please do.
Please. But no, that's all good. Right. Well, anyway, another massive... we didn't actually reveal to the audience how much this production has cost, because this is a big, massive production. This is top of the range.
Cutting edge.
Cutting edge.
Pure cutting edge technology.
We put this together for approximately, I think it cost us about £1.56 a week to put together.
Yeah, you're right. Worth every penny.
Absolutely.
Worth every penny.
Absolutely. But anyway, that's it from us. You have a great one. Have a great week. Tommy, tell the nice people to have a good week.
Everyone, have a great week.
I know. We'll catch you next time in a week's time around the 8 p.m. mark. Do not be late or early. We will see you there. Ciao.
Take care.